always saying that 3 million jobs in the country depend on EU trade. So how many jobs in the rest of the EU depend on British trade, seeing that the UK import more than it exports? So how many jobs in the rest of the EU would be lost?
I haven't got the figure for you, Karen. I'm sure there are some, but how can I put this? My starting point always, you wouldn't be surprised to hear me say this, is what's good for Britain. You know, I believe in our membership of the European Union. I'm the leader of the party of In, not because of some starry-eyed, affection for the European Union, but because I just think it is it's the pro-British thing to do. And I think if you're pro-British, you've also got to be pro-jobs in Britain. And I think being part of the single market, that's a point that George Soros was just making in the papers this morning. He was saying, look, if you yank ourselves out, which is what UKIP and large parts of the Conservative Party want to do, out of the world's largest borderless single market, don't be then surprised when big investors in the car industry, in the financial services, in manufacturing, basically say, OK, well, we're going to yank out our investment from the United Kingdom, and that would cost us jobs. And that's, my absolute priority is jobs.
Right.
Karen?
Right, yes. Well, I'll give you the figures, as you don't seem to know them. There would be at least 4 million jobs in the EU, which are dependent on us. As I said, remember that we import more than we export. And as a matter of interest, last year, there were 800,000 more cars imported from the EU than we exported. 450,000 from Germany alone. Now, this trading imbalance is disastrous. It costs the United Kingdom 50 billion a year because of the imbalance in trade. And you say that businesses say they're going to pull out. Is this the same people, the CBI, who have always, in various incarnations, been wrong? As in the 1920s, it wanted to go back to the gold at pre-war rate. In the 1930s, it was for appeasement. In the 1940s, it was often for nationalism. In the 1950s, it was for state planning. In the 1960s, it was...
I hear what you say about the CBI.
We must get Mr.
Karen.
Clegg back involved.
Karen, I want to write a reply now.
Yes, well done.
But Karen, look, you and I just are clearly not going to agree on this. Of course, it's a two-way street. That's the whole point about being part of the European Union. We have 2 million Brits who live elsewhere in the European Union. By the way, almost exactly the same number as the number of other European Union citizens who work in Britain. You're quite right, we trade, but that's the point of trade. The point of trade is that we trade, and sometimes you have a surplus, sometimes you have a deficit. But the view, which I passionately support with every fibre of my being, is that for us as an open country, a trading nation, a proud trading nation, to pull the drawbridge up and say, oh, to hell with the rest of the world, would be very, very bad for the British people. It would leave us poorer. It would lead to much greater unemployment. It would lead us much less safe because we wouldn't be able to work with other European countries to deal with cross-border crime. We wouldn't be able to deal with environmental damage. Yes, of course, the European Union needs reform. I mean, everything needs reform. Whitehall, Westminster needs reform. But I think to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say because people don't like this or that European decision, do you know what? I don't like this or that European decision, and make ourselves poorer and increase joblessness, I think would be disastrous for us.